Hello, Miss Steele here. So this week we're talking about balance. So we're going to make some balanced landscapes, which a landscape is an artwork that represents nature. So what we want for this project is a piece of paper. You want a pencil and an eraser, definitely our art tool basics. You want something to outline with. So I'm going to use crowns. You could use markers or whatever you have. And then you want something to color in with. I'm actually going to be using paints. So I have my paints and my water cup and my brush. If you do not have paints, you can use whatever you have to color in. All right, since we're talking about balance, what we want to do is we want to make for sure there's an equal amount of details on both sides. Balance doesn't mean that it has to be identical or the same on both sides, but we don't want one side to have way more detail than the other. So to start, what we're going to do is we're going to draw some rolling hills here at the bottom. And you want to add about the same amount to both sides. Again, they don't have to be identical. You just want the same amount of details on both sides. So I'm going to consider that good. Now that we have some rolling hills, let's add in some mountains. We're going to add in these mountains using really big zigzag lines. So for this, what we're going to do is starting on one side, we're going to go up and then start adding in those zigzags for the mountains. I like to add a few smaller mountains underneath too, just like that. If you want, I like to use some wavy lines just to add in some details to my mountains. And I like to add it at the top, almost like there's some snow caps. If you want as well, you can go back in and add in a few lines down here where we added in that those rolling hills. And I just use some lines just to kind of trace the shapes that were already made. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to go up and then some zigzags. And then again, I'm going to add in some smaller mountains and add in those wavy lines on the top here. Now what we want to try to do is practice our warm and cool colors. So we want to try to fill in this bottom area that we just drew with all cool colors. And then the sky we're going to fill in with all warm colors. So what we want to do is we want to draw a circle off to the side, not right in the middle. That's about the size of your palm. Once I have that first circle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw some radiating lines. So I'm going to draw more circles going around. And then whenever I run into my mountains, I'm going to not draw through them. And I'm not also trying to fit this all on the paper, just because I know it wouldn't. So if you see, I'll go around, and if I hit something, I'll pick up my pencil and then go around it. And I'm going all the way off the paper, like so, until I get the whole top of it filled in. And there is our balanced landscape. Since I'm going to be painting mine in, I want to outline and crown. You could also use oil pastels, but both of these have wax in them. And that wax or the oil in oil pastels resist water. So using these will make it easier to paint it in because it'll lock in the paint in certain areas. I think I'm going to do my rolling hills green, and then I think I'm going to do my mountains blue. I've done them purple before, but I think I want to try blue for this. So I'm going to grab out two different colors of green. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my pencil lines, and I'm going to do green for the rolling hills down here because we're using cool colors. And then I'm going to outline these in blue for cool colors as well. And then we're going to use warm colors for the sky. And warm colors are those colors you think of for like a fire or even a hot summer day. Colors like red, orange, yellow, pink. And then for cool colors, those are colors that are a little more relaxing. Colors that might make you think of a winter day. Colors like blue, green, purple. Those are all cool colors. So I'm going to get this all outlined, and if you remember, I like to use a few different colors just because I like to make it super colorful. So I pulled out 2 different kinds of greens and 2 different kinds of blues, so I can do my outlines in one color, and then my details, like these lines in the rolling hills or the wavy lines at the top of the mountain, I like to do those in a different color just to kind of make them stand out. So I'm using a darker green and a darker blue for those. I'm going to get these all outlined, and then I'm going to show you what we can do for our next step. Alright, so now that I have the bottom outlined and I use cool colors being green and blue, I'm going to use warm colors at the top. And I pulled out a few different yellows, darker reds, lighter reds, a few different oranges. And I think I'm going to try to do this in a pattern. So you don't want 2 colors next to each other. So even if you're just using 2, you can go back and forth between the 2. But I think I'm going to use all of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to create a pattern. So I'm going to go red, orange, going around. I like to make really thick outlines, so I like to go over it more than once just to try to cover up that pencil a little bit better. So red, orange, this pink, it's like a lighter red. So pink is also a warm color. And then I'm going to go to yellow for the last one. And then I'm going to keep that same pattern going of going red, orange, pink, yellow. And I'm going to try to paint them in accordingly as well. So I'm going to try to paint them in using the colors that I'm outlining them in. So now that I'm at yellow, I'm going to go back to red. And I'm going to keep the same pattern going, just outlining what I've already drawn. And then we're going to finish this by coloring it in. I'm going to be using paints, but like I said earlier, if you do not have paints, you can just use whatever you have. It could be markers that you're using to color in. You could turn around and use the crowns to help you color in. The outlines just really help all of that drawing stand out that we did, which is important because we don't want to lose all those details that we spent so long working on. I'm going to finish this up, and then I'm going to grab my paints and I'm going to show you how this won't stick because it's made up of crowns, because it's made up with those wax from the crowns. The paints won't stick wherever we went in and put in those outlines. So I'm going to start with my mountains. And I'm going to make the top of my mountains a darker blue, and I think I'm going to make the bottom of my mountains a lighter blue. So if you see, it's not really sticking as much wherever I put those crowns because crowns are made of wax, and we use water with our paints, and water won't stick where wax is at. So I'm going to work on getting this bottom part colored in. And I'm going to start painting in the top part, and then we'll check in and we'll see how this looks once we're all finished. Alright, although they look the same, it is red and pink that I've put in so far. And now I'm going to go back, and like I said, I'm trying to create that pattern that we had talked about. And now I'm going to go back with the orange, and where I outlined it in orange, I'm going to add in the orange, and then the same for the yellow. I'll find a, oop, I dipped it in the pink on accident. So I am going to get these open spaces filled up with my orange paint and my yellow paint because we're trying to use warm colors up top and then cool colors at the bottom. So once I have this all finished by putting in my orange and my yellow, and if you remember we did that outline, which is helping me with my painting because it won't stick where there is that outline. So it's going to help my paints not bleed meaning mix together as much on my paper. So they're all going to stay their own individual colors and not get mixed up because we have those outlines to lock in the paint. So I'm going to get this painted in. I'm going to get my grass painted in, and then we will be good to go. Just like that, my balanced landscape is all done, all painted in. I cannot wait to see how your guys' projects come out, and I will see you all next time. Have a wonderful rest of your morning, your evening, your afternoon. Bye!